It is Free Talk Live. You are welcome to join us here if you want. You can take control of the airwaves, bring up anything that's on your mind. It is the live Sunday edition of the program. Coming up, the black market, still a powerhouse when it comes to sales of marijuana in places where it's legal now, like California and Massachusetts. We can get into that. Something that we teased last night. Never had a chance to get to it with you in the studio tonight, by the way. It's Ian.
Rich.
And Mark.
All right. Of course, you can bring up anything that you want, but we're actually starting with a special guest here tonight. It is somebody we've had on the show in the past. I think it's been a few years, maybe several years. I think it was the Porcupine Freedom Festival was where we had Lenore Skenazy here on Free Talk Live. Welcome back, Lenore.
Hey, thanks. I still cherish those memories. I took a picture of the ice cream truck that was there, and it took payment in, oh, my God, it was like dollars, checks, Canadian money, pot, and Bitcoin.
That sounds like the Porcupine Freedom Festival.
It does.
Yeah. Not my normal place to talk. So usually I'm talking to like a bunch of teachers. So this is really cool.
So I hear that we might be seeing you again this summertime at the Freedom Fest out in Vegas.
I hope so. I'm planning to be there, and it's just the theme this year is the Wild West or the West, and so I thought, my God, that's pretty easy to talk about, because when you think about anybody going west, they probably weren't in the back of the SUV being driven, out west to discover the Sierras while they were playing a game and, had their pod in and were being given an organic snack by their mom. And, it's just a little bit of a different feel to the country back then.
So yeah, I'm going to be wearing my Woody outfit. I got a little cowboy hat, and I've got a little yellow shirt, dressed up like Woody from Toy Story.
There's going to be a fourth one,
Fourth what?
Fourth Toy Story.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
The third one was so great. Wow. Okay. That's like one thing that keeps getting better with their extra franchises.
The only one I've seen is the first one.
Oh, I'm surprised. You've got a kid.
He's seen the others. I haven't.
Oh, you haven't seen. Okay. Gotcha. So
you might actually like them. Yeah.
I wouldn't doubt it.
So, of course, you back in the day were known for the Free Range Kids blog, and you became the world's worst mother, according to some media organization or another.
According to everyone.
How dare you?
After allowing your
Google.
I think at the time, was he 10 years old or something like that? Your son?
He was 9. Double digits, and it's just not cute. No, he was 9 years old. I let my 9-year-old ride the subway by himself, wrote a column about it, and 2 days later I was on the Today Show, MSNBC, Fox News, and NPR, showing that it's not really a partisan issue.
Had you ever done television appearances prior to that? Did you have any experience, being like in the media prior to that blow up?
Once in a while I would have done something that somebody was interested in. I probably had like a minute or two on some, I don't remember, but I'm sure there was something that I must have talked about at some point that was interesting in my long and storied career. But this was like nothing I had experienced now.
When did you launch the Free Range Kids blog, after or before the incident with? No,
it was right afterwards. It was like, so, all right, write the column 2 days later on all those shows. That was a Thursday. And then over the weekend, I was sort of shaking. Like suddenly everybody is talking about this parenting decision, and a lot of people are thinking that I am horrible. And so I wanted to start a blog that said, "You guys don't know me. I totally believe in safety. I'm like a worrier. I believe in helmets and seatbelts and car seats." And when that 9-year-old turned 10 and it was his birthday party, the present I gave everybody, in the goodie bag was not candy or a toy. It was a mouth guard. I mean,
it was a what?
Can you come
mouth
up
guard.
with somebody who's less fun than me? So I started the blog that very weekend.
Wow.
And I called it Free Range Kids because my husband came up with the name, how about Cage-Free Kids? And I liked it, but it sounded a little creepy.
Right.
So I just tweaked it, and that was it.
I think it's a great name for a blog, but you are doing a different one now called Let Grow. Free Range Kids is still there. Are you still posting on that as well? Or what's your...
Yeah, it is complicated for legal reasons. You guys are libertarians. You know how these things go. There's a lot of regulations about. Now, Let Grow is the nonprofit that grew out of Free Range Kids, and you can't use a name that somebody might, God willing, make a profit on while still doing Let Grow. So it's just for reasons of like trademark law, et cetera. It has a different name, but it actually is a cool name. I just got an email today from somebody who's been reading Let Grow and talking about it, and he said something that we've heard from a couple other parents, which is that today, when he was asking his kid to, I don't know, do something or to stay inside, the kid said, "Dad, let grow," which is what we hope will become a rallying cry for the kids, because it's hard to tell somebody to let go. And, in fact, I had originally thought we should call it Let Go and Let Grow, but the people who are afraid to let go will not. But everybody wants their kids to grow. So it's a good cry for the kids to remind the parents that it's our job to let them grow. And then it's a good thing for the parents to say to the kids, it's like, go outside. No, I want to say, it's like, no, go on, let grow. And then off they go. So we like the name. And the reason it is something different from free-range kids is that a couple of years ago, Dan Schuckman, who is who just recently stepped down as the chairman of FIRE, which fights for free speech on campus, the Foundation for Individual Rights and Education. Right. He and Jonathan Haidt, who wrote The Coddling of the American Mind and also The Righteous Mind, I guess he likes the word mind in the title, they were talking about what they were seeing on campus with kids, young people, kind of fragile, and the mental health services were going up, and anxiety was going up,
safe
and
spaces.
Tolerance was going down. Goodness. Yeah, the safe spaces thing. And they're saying, it can't be that kids turn 18 and are suddenly fragile. The minute they step on campus, something changes and makes them very anxious. It's probably that they're growing up a little differently, and maybe it has to do with the sort of overprotective environment we're in now. And who's talking about overprotection and ways to give kids back some independence? And, of course, that's me. So they came and said, let's start a nonprofit together. And I said, that sounds fantastic, as I've been just typing by myself in my living room for 10 years. Yay. But let's also loop in Dr. Peter Gray, who's a psychology professor from Boston College, who talks about how kids need free time and free play to figure out not only their interests, but how to deal with each other. Because when you're playing, you have to be, you have to be fun enough to play with. You have to be aware enough that you're not, boring or unfair to the other people you're playing with, so that they keep playing with you. And so by playing, you sort of learn how to get along and how to read each other. And you actually learn democracy because you vote together on, are we going to play that the tree stump is out or is it in? So between the four of us, we started Let Grow, and that's where we are now.
And there's plenty of time to do that for the 10 minutes of recess they get in elementary school.
Yeah, that's right.
I hear that schools that recess is just getting pared down and pared down. I mean, it disappeared when I went to high school, but we had recess all the way up till 8th grade when I went to school.
I didn't. It stopped for me after elementary school.
No, I had it through 8th grade, but high school, not recess, but we all had free periods that were, free.
We had study hall, but we weren't allowed to talk.
Right.
Study hall wasn't elective.
Yeah. It's kind of like confinement in prison.
They've done studies that show that prisoners get more outdoor time than children get today.
It wouldn't surprise me at all.
It is shocking. Right. So Peter Gray's idea for Let Grow, for one of the initiatives that we're working on, is to keep schools open for free play after school. We call it the Let Grow Play Club because it's branding everything. But really, it's just, we would like our kids to have some of the experiences that we had as kids, which is you probably, after school, you came home and you hopped on your bike and you went to the park and you played a game. Is that correct for you guys?
Yeah, or we would go to just a neighbor's house. We might pick up some, fake guns and shoot at each other. We might...
Now if they find kids in the park, the police open an investigation in some states and go arrest the parents. Lenore, can you stick with us for another segment here?
Oh, of course.
All right, more with Lenore Skenazy from letgrow.org. We'll continue. Maybe you've got a question for her. She advocates for free-range kids.
She'll be doing it at Freedom Fest, too.
Letting your kids make more decisions and go off on their lonesome. Of course, in a lot of places, that'll get you arrested these days, which is insane. The toll-free number is 855-450, free like freedom. You can join us here. This is Free Talk Live. Free Talk Live, dial toll-free, and bring up whatever you want here. Our number is 855-450-FREE, though right now, if you call in you need to have a question for our guest, Lenore Skenazy. From letgrow.org, as we continue, by the way, we did mention that she's going to be attending Freedom Fest. She'll be one of a myriad of speakers at what is the largest liberty-oriented gathering in the world. This year's theme, the Wild West, featuring Penn Jillette, Candace Owens, John Mackey, Kevin O'Leary, and Kevin Harrington of Shark Tank, Stephen Moore, Grover Norquist, and there's going to be a bunch of people going to this event. How many people, Mark, would you estimate attend Freedom Fest every
2,000,
year?
3,000, 4,000.
2 to 4,000 people. Yeah. It's a big event in Vegas. Go to freedomfest.com/FTL. Get your tickets now. And we will be broadcasting Free Talk Live from the event. That's freedomfest.com/FTL. And coupon code FTL50, FTL50, gets you a discount for being a Free Talk Live listener. If you're not sure, you can check out the 5 best speeches from last year for free just by going to freedomfest.com/FTL. You can watch Judge Napolitano, Alan Dershowitz, Charlie Kirk, Heather McDonald, and John Mackey from last year, all for free by going to freedomfest.com/FTL. We bring back Lenore Skenazy here. She's actually calling us from, or we're calling her, I guess in this case, from New York City. That's where you are tonight. And
yes,
so let's take the latest piece from your blog over at letgrow.org. What happened with this Lyft ride with a parent and a child? What's the story there?
Oh, that was a kind of strange case. That was a mom wasn't feeling well. She's in New Orleans, and so she called a Lyft who came there, and she put her 5-year-old in the car. And then it's a question of, did the driver say, wait a minute, aren't you getting in the car? And she said no. And did she just walk away and leave the kid there? Or did she say, I'm desperate, I'm sick, I have to get my kid to the school, and I can't, I can't do it. Can you please drive him? Whatever transpired there, we know that the next thing that happened is that the driver kept the kid in the car and drove straight to the sheriff's office, whereupon the sheriff charged the mom with desertion.
Wow.
I think that's a new definition of desertion, because I don't think if you really want to desert your child, I mean, if I wanted to desert my child, I would hire a Lyft driver to take them to another state, but not to take them to school. I mean, clearly this was a mom who, needed help. And if you know that, which you do from the circumstances, then if I was the sheriff, I would go over and see, is there some other plan you can make? Are there people nearby? Maybe we should, create a forum for parents online where they can find each other on days when, there's one of the moms can't make
or just take the kid
a drop off. But to charge her as if that's going to help the family at all. I mean, if you really feel that it's a family that is desperate enough to have to call a Lyft driver and run away, there's something going on there. Why would you make that into actually a criminal charge?
Well, I know how we could help them. Fines and jail. That'll be helpful.
Yeah, that's a really good answer. Right? It's been so successful.
Nothing brings a family closer together than a little jail time.
Right.
I would say maybe for the Lyft driver,
there's
for
so
kidnapping and breach of contract.
There's a law that they tried to pass in Rhode Island that would have made it a crime for a bus to let a kid off after school at a bus stop without an adult there to walk them home until 7th grade. 7th grade. And in fact, actually, I did hear from a mom in Kentucky who said that was exactly the same rule there. I don't know if it went all the way up to 7th grade, but certainly her 3rd grader was not allowed to get off the bus without an adult waiting, and she worked.
They're doing that around here too.
A mom who's not home at 3 in the afternoon to walk the kid home.
They're doing that here in the so-called Live Free or Die state. Former co-host of ours, Will Coley, he hosted a different show on our network, and he had to get out and leave his show a couple of times because his wife was inside the house. She, I don't know, for whatever reason, wasn't standing outside at the right time when the bus comes, and the bus will not drop the child off in front of the house without the parent standing outside.
God.
It's crazy.
Yeah, that is so crazy. First of all, what a pleasant thing to stand outside in New Hampshire in the winter waiting for the bus sometime between 3 and 3:45 to drop off your child. But then also the idea that you all have to quit your jobs because somebody else has determined, not you, but somebody else thinks it's not safe enough for your kid to walk up the driveway alone or 2 houses away or even 2 blocks away. I mean, that's clearly a decision that, first of all, should be made by a parent? And secondly, why did we suddenly decide that that is so dangerous that it requires a bodyguard when we all know that a generation ago people did this without a second thought, and nobody considered the parents evil, nobody considered charges. The lady in Kentucky who had her grandfather who would pick her son up one day, the grandpa, just when the bus is coming, he's in the bathroom. So that's mark one against her. Strike two was a day when the kid was supposed to stay at school. He didn't realize it. He got on the bus. He came home, and the grandpa wasn't waiting. So that's strike two. But if there is a strike three, they once again return the child to the bus depot, which seems like the least safe place you could bring the kid, as opposed to their house. Right?
There's no alcoholics hanging out underneath the buses or anything.
Really, right? All the cigarette butts piling up. But strike three means they call Child Protective Services.
Wow, man.
So this is what pushed me over into the liberty camp, was realizing that, like, parents who are making rational decisions based on their circumstances. What if you work two jobs and you need your kid to come home with a latchkey?
Right.
Suddenly that's a crime. You're trying to put food on the table, and that's a crime. So last year, as you probably know, Utah passed a free-range kids law. They call it free-range parenting law. And it's good. I mean, it says that it's not a crime. It's not negligence to let your kid play outside, walk to school, wait briefly in a car, or come home with a latchkey.
Isn't that sad, though, that they had to pass a law to clarify that this is not those things? You cannot interpret them in that way.
It's insane. Yeah. It's insane. But
sign of the times.
Now a bunch of states are considering similar laws. We have about 6 states considering them now. And the language that we prefer is that only blatant disregard for a child's safety and welfare should be considered neglect, because everybody has to make seat of the pants decisions. You're going to drop the kid off at school, but now he's sick. You keep them home while you drop the other one off at school. I mean, nobody can plan for every eventuality in family life, and to have to worry that your decision to let the kid wait in the car while you go in and get the Tylenol because she's, finally fell asleep and she's had the flu, that should not be, like, the state should not be a consideration when you're making a normal parenting decision. So I'm hoping that
I talked to a person who had left their kid in the car to go put the grocery cart away in the grocery cart canal, like 3 or 4, maybe 5 car parking spaces away.
Wow.
And he comes back
once again tracking across the West.
Yeah, a woman is hyperventilating at his window. She's getting ready to break the window on the car. I mean, the kid's just looking at her.
As far as state interference is concerned, here's a headline that I had ready to go for tonight, and I don't know if we'll get into the full article. Oregon to become the first state to mandate universal home visits of all families with newborn children.
Oh, my God. Yeah, we definitely have to talk about that. Lenore, thanks for coming back on Free Talk Live with us here tonight. I guess
love being here. Look up the Scottish laws that are called the named person law, and you'll see where a law like Oregon's gets you.
Check her out over at letgrow.org, and we'll look forward to seeing you this July for Freedom Fest in Vegas.
I can't wait.
Thanks,
First
Lenore.
time in Vegas.
Have a great night. More coming up here with Free Talk Live. You can join us. It is Free Talk Live. I want to tell you about my favorite cryptocurrency wallet, Edge Wallet, at edge.app. Edge is the wallet I use more than any other, and that was true long before Edge Wallet became a sponsor of Free Talk Live. Edge Wallet allows you to buy, sell, trade, and securely hold your cryptocurrencies, including Bitcoin, Ethereum, tokens, Monero, Ripple, Dash, Bitcoin Cash, and more. It's available for both Android and iOS, and you can download it via the Play or App Store or via Edge Wallet's website, edge.app. Secure your freedom with Edge Wallet. It's Free Talk Live. You can bring up anything that you want. Our toll-free number here is 855-450, free like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. We are talking about the insane level of overprotection that is being crammed down families' throats by state governments across the United States. There's a little bit of pushback, as our guest Lenore Skenazy just a few moments ago pointed out, in the state of Utah, where they have passed a free-range kids law to try to enshrine the idea in the law that, hey, letting your kid go to the park or the mall, I that probably doesn't happen anymore. But, to go out of their house without some sort of parental guidance at every single step shouldn't be considered neglect or any other sort of criminal act. They had to pass a law because of the just madness that has infected people across the United States.
It doesn't get any better in your old age either. I mean, you're very likely to end up, well, it's not unlikely for Americans to end up at the mercy of a court-appointed guardian in their old age when they're not able to make decisions. And then this guardian then spends all your money. And then when your money is spent, they suddenly you don't need guardianship anymore, and they send you off to an old folks' home, run by Medicare.
Speaking of money, we love cryptocurrencies here on Free Talk Live. And if you're going to get into crypto, whether it's Bitcoin or some of the competitors like Bitcoin Cash and Dash and others, you ought to get a good cryptocurrency wallet, a good multi-crypto wallet. Like these days, I don't understand why anybody would want a single crypto wallet, like just Bitcoin or just Dash. You got to have multiple options because there are a lot of great choices out there like Ethereum and tokens and Monero and Ripple, Stellar and Bitcoin Cash and others. Edge Wallet does all of those and many more. In fact, you can get Edge Wallet through your iOS or Android app store, or just go to edge.app to download it. I used my Edge Wallet twice today. Actually, just had some dinner with you guys earlier at the local burger here in Keene, paid for my dinner with Bitcoin Cash via Edge Wallet. And just before that, I was over at Corner News right across the street. Got some rolling papers with my Edge Wallet. And
what are you going to do with the rolling papers, Ian?
Roll things. Edge.app is where you can go. And man, it's super easy and smooth. I was actually waiting on the clerk because she had the tablet wasn't charged. So it gave me a chance to talk to her about accepting cryptocurrency. And I gave her a crypto tip, which is a nice little sort of fun website as well. Anyway, go to edge.app and get your copy of Edge on your smartphone. It's, by the way, secure your freedom is their tagline, and I like that. Edge.app. So into the news here, Richie, you've got a story that is taking this whole overprotection thing to a whole new level in the state of Oregon, apparently.
And starting younger, yeah.
What's going on now?
So again, if you missed it, Oregon to become the first state to mandate universal home visits of all families with newborn children. Oregon Governor Kate Brown has submitted her 2-year budget proposal to the Oregon State Legislature, and it includes several health initiatives aimed at children, behavioral, mental health, under the oversight of the Oregon Health Authority and Oregon's coordinated care organizations.
The Health Authority.
The Authority.
Yeah, this is the natural and probable, predictable outcome of the the nanny state, where your school, your health care, everything is controlled by the state. The people who want their school debts forgiven and they want to have free health care and stuff, that's all sounds really great. Until you realize the government is then in charge of the health care. The government's going to be in charge of the health care of your kids. The government's going to determine whether or not you're taking the proper care of your kids, and that these determinations will not be what you think they should be. They will be some other system for determining.
But they will protect those people from the onslaught of the wealthy taking over their lives and oppressing them.
That's true. There's not a lot of wealthy people in prison. And when they go to prison for not treating their kids exactly the way the state says, they will be protected from the wealthy. They will be sodomized by poor people who are in prison.
Moving on. One of the key pieces of Governor Brown's legislation is the beginning investment in a 6-year program to create universal home visits for new parents. The Beaverton Valley Times interviewed Patrick Allen, the director of Oregon Health Authority, who reportedly expressed excitement at the prospect of requiring home visits of all new parents.
We get to get into everyone's house.
That's what they want.
We'll get to look around, see if there's anything that's contraband on the shelves. We'll make sure we arrest those parents.
An army of bureaucrats to go through everyone's house.
Yes, and we'll get to check their fridge, make sure they've got healthy food in the fridge. We don't want to find any alcohol. We don't want to find any raw meat. We don't want to find anything that could put a child in danger.
It's
of
for
eating
the children, though. It's for the children. Including adoptive.
It's for the bureaucrats is what it is. Well, it's for whatever Department of Health authority to increase their bureaucracy size, because if they're going to have to go and visit every single newborn, that's going to keep a lot of bureaucrats pretty busy.
Yeah, a lot of them.
Here's the thing. I want to make this part clear. Not only newborns, adoptive parents as well.
Wow.
So when the program is complete, every new parent, including adoptions, would receive a series of 2 or 3 visits by someone.
2 or 3?
Not just one.
Wow.
Like a nurse or other healthcare practitioner. So it's not a bureaucrat.
Oh,
it's a nurse or a healthcare practitioner.
Just a bureaucrat, or just a nurse who's basically moonlighting as a bureaucrat.
Sure.
Because she's operating under a government mandate to check off a certain list. She's got like some sort of list of things to look for, things to, warning signs that these parents might not be raising their children in the way the state has approved.
And here's your list. The visits could include basic health screenings for babies, hooking parents up with primary care physicians, linking them to other services, and coordinating the myriad childhood immunizations that babies need.
Because the parents that just had a baby wouldn't have no way of connecting with the primary care. They didn't just leave a hospital in most cases. I mean, they have no idea what to do. I mean, why would you even need to offer a service like that?
They do not feel like some people are taking proper care of their kid. People like me. My son doesn't go to the doctor that often.
Y'all didn't go to a hospital to have birth either,
He was
right?
not given birth. He was not given birth to in a hospital.
So is this a way to get into the homes of people likely to homeschool, people likely to home birth?
Yep,
that kind of thing.
Absolutely.
I've heard these bureaucrats talk. I've heard them say that what was the description? That homeschoolers. She thinks that homeschoolers are all Unabombers. That was the terminology that she used.
Wow.
Well, why else would you keep your kids out of school?
Yeah. Why wouldn't you turn your kids over to the government like good citizens?
Because that's what they're made for, to become good citizens. That's what schooling does. Alan made it clear that they were targeting all children, not just troubled families. This isn't something for people in trouble. This is stuff all kids need.
Every child needs a visit with a bureaucrat.
Birthed at
3
home,
times.
Homeschooled, whatever it happens to be, you need it.
It's a great way to drive families out of your state.
That could be the ramification.
Who's going to pick up and leave over this?
I don't know. People disappoint me constantly. So you might be right. People will just sit there and take it.
That's what most people will do. I mean, there may be a few people who all right, we're going to a better homeschool state.
The wealthy who can afford to leave.
Sure.
Write a letter to the editor and say, our family has decided to leave, the town of Portland or whatever, and the reason is because of this stupid law. Goodbye.
Right.
Thanks for all the tyranny.
What is it that happens?
I will say this, that there's a possibility that being a state resident is a state of mind to some extent. Right? Like, there's poor legal definitions as to what makes somebody a resident of a particular state. I suspect this only applies to residents of states, not the kid that's in the state. Right? So, for instance, if I'm driving my newborn from Washington State to California, I am not now, subject to Oregon's laws surrounding these bureaucrats coming in. What if I'm visiting for 2 weeks? What if I'm visiting for a month? What if I'm visiting for 3 months?
I think that would be more application, because as you travel through Oregon, you are definitely subject to Oregon law.
Sure, but I don't think you're going.
I don't think they would enforce that one.
No, I don't think they
based on
are.
where you would be.
All right, there's more coming up here. Our toll-free number is 855-450, free like freedom, 855-450-3733. Free Talk Live. This is Free Talk Live. You can take control of the airwaves here. Our number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. We do have the Discord on-air call-in line rooms. Just go to discord.lrn.fm, and you can get into one of those rooms and sound almost like you're sitting here in the studio with us. And in this studio here with you, it's Ian.
Richie Rich.
And Mark.
We are talking about a disturbing story that, Richie, I'm trying to find some corroboration here from some kind of source that's not this one, the one that you're reading.
Sure.
Which is called, what is it? MostHolyFamilyMonastery.com.
I've got healthimpactnews.com.
Right. They cite healthimpactnews.com, and then Health Impact News cites a mainstream news site called the Portland Tribune at pamplinmedia.com. However, the links to Pamplin Media's website do not resolve to a news article. So they look like, when you look at the links in the article on the Health Impact News, when you look at the Beaverton Valley Times link, it appears to be a link to a story about this, but then when you actually click the link, it just takes you to the root URL, the main URL of pamplinmedia.com. So as of yet, I'm not saying this is false. I'm just saying I'm hoping to find some better corroboration on this story.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah. Just letting you know. So if you want to join us here, our toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. The story is purportedly that all newborn children and adopted children in the state of Oregon will be visited, the family will be visited by somebody doing the state's work.
Doctor or nurse practitioner.
Somebody who, or maybe just a bureaucrat, we're not clear on that, who's going to come by and ask you questions, look around your house. Who knows what they're going to be authorized to do once they get inside your home. But it's very, very disturbing, and I think you've got some more from the piece.
I mean, the rest of it is basically the stuff that we covered, but I'll read through it. And just, if you're looking for some cooperation, I guess this was a budget proposal.
Right.
So if you're, it might not be a news article necessarily, but it might be if somewhere online they have the Oregon budget or the Oregon Budget Office, that might be the next place to check. Because this might just be a blogger that found the budget and went, "What the hell is this?" And then
could be.
So I'm going to jump down in the article because a lot of it just got covered. In this proposed bill for universal home visits, possibly just another way for the state to collect funds and to potentially remove children from their homes and place them into the lucrative foster care and adoption system. We have already documented how the foster care system is not primarily about protecting children, but is merely a state-funded child trafficking system. There's already a federal...
this is truer than others times, depending on the state and location within the state, right? Sure. So some offices are more likely to do something like this and some are less. There's a story from Illinois right now where the Child Protective Services, or whatever their state version of it is, basically let a kid get beaten to death at his own home when they had visited the house several times. So they didn't even take the opportunity to take a kid away. The problem is that just the existence of this organization absolves people of the idea that they have to even look out for a kid.
Well, and it can be used as a weapon. I don't want to get too much into it, but I know a guy who is in a relationship, and his former relationship, 6 Child Protective Services on them all the time as a way to get retribution. So it's not only is it bad when they act and take kids or allow those violent acts to occur, but it's also a state tool used by disgruntled ex-relationships, to bring harm to you and to just bother you.
I was able to find the story from Pamplin Media at the Beaverton Valley Times. I took a clip from what they claimed was a quote and then searched via Google site search because it wasn't coming up through their own site search, and I did find it here. One of the governor's priorities that he's most excited about is the beginning investment in this 6-year program to create universal home visits for new parents. So, just some confirmation here, just because Holy Ministry, whatever it was.
It didn't seem...
most holyfamilymonastery.com.
Because we don't need Trump considering Free Talk Live to be fake news.
Sorry, go ahead with the story.
Where was I?
I don't know, but it's disturbing as hell.
Yeah, that's why. Child trafficking system. There's already federally funded home visit program funded by the Health Resources and Services Administration.
So they're going to get federal money for this.
Well, there's already federally funded home visit programs. This is Oregon stuff. The federal program is stated to be a voluntary, but Oregon seems to want to take it a step further and make government home visits mandatory.
Lovely.
This might be in part of your article. Apparently, $400 million has already been allocated to states to fund home visits, and states need to implement the programs to receive those funds.
Right, so there is federal money involved here if they do this program. But wait, this doesn't sound voluntary, you were saying, right?
This does not sound voluntary. The federal fund is
voluntary.
Is supposedly voluntary. Oregon sounds like is making this mandatory in order to make sure that they receive the federal.
Maybe the federal fund is voluntary for the states to get into, right? Like they're not forcing the states to get into this fund, but look, there's all this money here. If you want this money, state governments, you can implement a program.
Well, most states have a home visit program.
Really?
But they don't have a mandatory home visit program. They don't have a universal home visit program. They just visit people at home who need it and want it. Mm-hmm. And some people need and want it, but other people don't. And that's really where it comes from. Okay.
Yeah, to me, this seems very Orwellian. It seems,
This is Huxleyan.
Aldous Huxley?
Yeah, this is much more Brave New World than this is 1984.
Well, it's oversight, right? Like it's some bureaucrat's eyeballs are going to be in your house looking around at your stuff and your lifestyle.
Yeah, I mean, we already have, say, the German school system where they determine relatively young what your career path's going to be. I mean, we've got this. All the pieces are in place, people, for essentially
a Brave New World.
Yeah, you being,
make sure you get on your Ritalin, kids.
Categorized and sent down the
drugged.
chute for
Somas.
Yeah,
right. Soma was the drug in Brave New World.
Right.
That's right.
Ritalin is
so I think it's probably both, right? Because isn't Orwellian typically like surveillance state? Isn't it usually like in tandem with the surveillance state? This is part of the surveillance state, no doubt about it. Getting a bureaucrat inside everyone's home, that's totally the surveillance state.
And if they could put a camera in there,
they would.
Yeah.
Brave New World was much more about sort of the rearing of people through the whole process. You had to get them young was the whole idea. Yeah. And
that's why they have government
schools. The government's
schools.
Not happy with first grade, then it needs kindergarten. And then it's not happy with kindergarten.
Now it's home visits.
Then it needs pre-K. Yeah. And then it's not happy with pre-K. It needs, government nursery schools and home visits.
Well, cameras in the home is just the next step. Oh, yeah. So that could
that's already on the table in Great Britain.
Right. So, what they'll do is say, well, we think that, we're going to let you keep little Johnny here, but we're going to have to mandate that you install one of our monitoring systems so we can make sure that everything is okay here because we think you're an at-risk household. So
that's when you leave.
And if they can't do it through the state, they'll do it through the corporations because Facebook already has what their in-home camera.
Facebook what now?
Oh, no, this is not new news. Facebook has a device similar to like the Amazon Echo and Google Home.
Really?
That is a camera. Like it's like a 4K camera so you can communicate with other Facebook users.
Oh, wow.
But it takes like a wide, pan shot of your house and then because it's 4K, you can zoom in on specific things.
Right.
But who knows when it's on, who knows,
Sure.
Who knows what Facebook is doing with it when you're not around. It's conspiracy theory talking, but I mean, like I said, how do you get people? If it's not Orwell, how do you get the Huxleyans to put cameras in their house? Have them do it voluntarily
on their own
and want to do it.
There's the meme on the internet that says, 1984, the government's going to bug our homes. 2019, hey, home bug. Do cats eat waffles? I mean, the silly things that you ask Alexa or Google Home or whatever, it's right there. You've already put it in your house. And look, I understand. Wow. By the way, the same stuff that they're reading about here in Oregon is also being proposed in Scotland.
You've got a related story about this.
From the BBC. Is that a good enough source for you?
I mean, it's pretty decent. Yeah.
It's pretty decent.
So we'll get into that coming up here in moments. Your calls and thoughts are also welcome. Our toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. Mark, you're saying the best solution here for parents is if this is happening in your state, plan a move and get out.
At the very least, plan a move and pretend to get out. Because residency is something that you claim. So, for instance...
Oh, not always. It was forced on me.
Well, my wife claims to be a Florida resident. I claim to be a New Hampshire resident or New Hampshire domiciled in New Hampshire. So therefore,
I also claimed to be an inhabitant.
I understand.
Of New
you
Hampshire.
had a completely different situation. You have no children. They weren't worried about your kid.
I didn't change my address when I moved.
Good for you, man.
And you weren't willing to move. If these people come after my kid, I am gone on the first thing that smokes out of this stinking state.
Luckily, you're in New Hampshire where there's a big homeschool movement, a bunch of independent kind of minded families.
I can't find any of them.
Well, you must not have looked that hard because whenever they threaten the homeschoolers at the State House, they show up in droves.
State House is a long drive from my house.
855 it's a long drive for them too, but they come out. 855-450 free, like freedom. Free Talk Live.
She's such a beautiful little puppy. I mean, we walk around the block, and neighbors always say, her hair is so beautiful.
Healthy and shiny and glossy. DINOVITE.com.
Fatty acids, omega-3s, and omega-6s are great for healthy skin and soft, shiny coats. I would really recommend people starting their puppies on Dynamite before they get into what I would call the misery index. Bad skin, bad ears, bad breath.
Because if they're getting all their vitamins, micronutrients, microbials from the beginning, then you're not going to run into the problems associated with the allergies,
grass, pollen, dust, dirt, fleas, ticks, you name it,
and the itching and shedding down the road.
Our vitamins and enzymes replace the nutrients cooked out of most commercial dog foods.
Dynavite for life.
This is Ed Lukasevic
and Cindy Lukasevic,
inviting you and your pets to Dynavite.
859-428-1000.
DINOVITE.com.
Free Talk Live.
It is Free Talk Live. You can bring up anything that you want. Our number is 855-450, free like freedom. 855-450-3733. We have the Discord on-air call-in line rooms. Just head over to discord.lrn.fm. And welcome back to our audience on Twitch. We had been suspended for 3 days due to a supposed nudity incident. And I have yet... Oh, sorry. I accidentally did not unmute you, Richie. Try that again.
I was going to say, I'm going to keep my shirt on.
Yeah,
for this one.
It's still not clear exactly what their policy is, and I don't expect that they're going to write me back and clarify their policy, because I wrote to them on Friday or something like that, asking them about, well, is it nudity for everyone to be topless? Like, if males are topless, is that considered nudity by your policy? If not, is it people who are presenting as female that are topless? Is that considered nudity? Because Aria DiMezzo, our Monday night co-host, Mark on tomorrow night show, she does a show called Aria Uncensored that is exclusive to the internet.
All right, how long's Aria been in town?
Since June.
Aria hasn't been female for a year, right?
What does that mean?
Aria has moved to New Hampshire?
No, that's not true. She was definitely Aria when I first met her in 2017.
Oh, okay. She has not been going by the name Aria for over a year.
She was Aria when I met her in 2017 at the first Fork Fest.
Okay.
My understanding was that she decided to start wearing skirts when she moved to New Hampshire.
No.
And that was 2018.
No, my understanding is that she didn't really do it much when she was down in Mississippi, and made the full-on transition when she moved here. But when I first met her in the summer of 2017, she was Aria DiMezzo wearing skirts at Fork Fest.
But she wasn't in Alabama or Mississippi doing it.
At some point, she did make the flip.
I don't know what I think
there,
about it when you're going back and forth.
When who's going back? Oh, as far as her commitment or whatever?
Right. A person is transitioning over. Yeah. I mean, one day you're male, one day you're female.
I think for her it had to do with living in the South. And
I understand what it had to, but what's the reality? I mean, what was she...
Well, the reality is gender is fluid, so you can transition back and forth as much as you
often as you want. In her case, it was more of a concern with. I remember she's told the story on Call to Freedom about how she would go to a convenience store in her neighborhood on a regular basis. She was a known customer there. She's there all the time
in Mississippi.
Yeah, in Mississippi, and that one day towards when she was going to make the move to New Hampshire, she just decided to go all the way and show up as Aria rather than James, and that was a hard thing to do, right? Like to show up completely different, like they all know it's you.
Yep.
And now you're dressing like a woman. So she did do that for some amount of time, Mark. I'm just not sure how much. I don't think it was that much before she left Mississippi.
All I'm doing is repeating what she told me.
Yeah.
And she told me more or less she became a woman as she transitioned as she transitioned from Mississippi to New Hampshire.
It was a good time for it as far as I'm concerned,
makes
right?
sense.
Because the people up here have been more accepting towards her because of that.
All I'm saying is she hasn't been a woman long.
Mm-hmm.
And at what point when she takes off her shirt is she male, female? This is a difficult question for streaming platforms or anybody who does decides what's acceptable and what's not acceptable on the internet, right? At one point, what point does a woman with her shirt off, a man with his shirt off, become a woman doing porn? I don't know,
or vice versa.
Well, it's definitely not porn. It's just somebody topless. There's nothing sexual about it.
That's what was on Free Talk Live.
Right.
However,
on LRN.FM.
LRN.FM. However, there's something that can come after that too. If DLive now lets women take their shirts off on DLive.
Well, we weren't banned from DLive,
to be
Twitch.
Clear. Twitch now lets women take their shirts off on Twitch. Well, then what happens? There's plenty of women who make a lot of money on Twitch not taking their shirts off.
Sure.
Just being cute and playing video games or chit-chatting or whatever it is that they're doing.
That's a career now.
But if they declared themselves to be male, could they then take their shirts off?
I don't know. That's what I want them to clarify. I want Twitch to make their policy clear because it's not clear. So I've asked Aria, does she want to put pasties or maybe like electrical tape and an X over top of her nipples on Tuesday night for the next episode of Aria Uncensored?
Best I can tell on Twitch, underboob isn't a problem.
So the other problem, though, with Twitch is that they have this sort of nebulous policy about being dressed appropriate for the location, basically. So the idea is if you are doing what they call an IRL stream in real life, if you have your cell phone and you're going to the beach, well, then it makes sense if you're going to have your top off. You're at the beach, right?
Sure.
Or at least if you're a man. Presumably you wouldn't be able to as a woman. But they may try to argue that, well, if you're in your home, you shouldn't have your top off. So even if she has pasties on, we may still get pulled, is what I'm thinking might
I only
happen.
put a shirt on when I leave the house.
Right? Exactly.
When I'm at home, I'm topless.
Absolutely. If it's warm enough, I have got my shirt off.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I can tell you my dad sat around in tighty-whities most of my childhood.
Which is one of the other things I had inquired about was, well, throughout the summer of 2018, the first summer we were on Twitch, I was topless. Conan was in here co-hosting. We had like Topless Wednesdays where Conan and I would be topless in the studio together because it was, it's warm outside. And nice.
Nobody extra watched the stream as a result.
Well, but people were complaining about it, right? Like there's like these young males that come into the stream and become obsessed with the idea of what we're wearing or not wearing. They'll keep track of how many days in a row I wear the same T-shirt or whether I'm topless or not. If I'm topless, they'll tell me to put a shirt on. If I'm not topless, they'll tell me to take my shirt off and go topless. Like they're just obsessed with it, and it's very silly. So you would think some of those people were reporting it, right? So we must have been reported, given the number of instances. Does that mean that it's okay for men to be topless? And so there's a lot of questions, and I don't think they're going to answer any of them.
I wonder if she could get that female bikini that has like male nipples on them. Like that's the design.
The picture, the photo, a printed photo of male nipples. I love that.
If she would wear that, then like would those nipples be okay to show because it's on the printed bikini top? And
can we get that from like Amazon? Are those for sale?
Well, they're for sale somewhere. I don't know where to buy them.
Her nipples were male nipples not too long ago.
Right. But now these are pictures
now
of
they're
them.
photos of nipples. Now it's not an actual nipple.
And there was a time in the recent past when they would go from being a male nipple to a female nipple in the same day.
Wait, what?
Didn't they?
Who?
Aria.
Oh, because of her transition. She's like in the morning she'd be male and then female in the evening.
You're talking about when she didn't live here or whatever?
Yes, okay. I'm trying to figure this whole gender fluid thing out. I get when you like, I'm wearing dresses every day and I'm going to have long hair. Please call me she.
Well, she is every day, Aria,
yes,
now.
She is.
And for most of a year.
All I said was in the recent past, Ian.
Yeah.
A year ago is the recent past.
I don't even.
The nipple would go from being a male nipple to a female nipple, back to a male nipple, all in the same day. Probably even more transitions than that. I don't know what to do anymore. And you want clarification from Twitch?
I don't think they're going to do it.
You're not going to. Who would? What kind of fool would give an a-hole like you any kind of clarification?
And to be fair, right down in the South, maybe more so than other places, but. Gay bashing is and was a thing. So if you were hiding your sexual orientation,
it was actually a Boy Scout badge. You could get one
for gay bashing.
The gay bashing Boy Scout badge. Yeah,
that's really a thing?
It's only for the southern states.
Oh, okay.
Let's go to Sarah. She's in New Mexico. Sarah, you're on Free Talk Live. Hello.
Yes, I just found out that if a mother is under a lot of stress, and if she releases a lot of cortisol and adrenaline, which are stress hormones, it actually affects the brain development of the fetus.
Okay.
I believe that.
Yeah. And so the end result is you get somebody like me who have like a lot of anxiety over doing simple things. Like I have my Section 8 renewal, certification, and I get like massive like anxiety attack of like I've been cleaning this house for the last 2 weeks. I've been cleaning all day, and I got 3 more days to clean, and then I sweat.
So wait, you're worried because they're going to come inspect your house to see if it's clean?
Well, I feel like it's not going to be good enough.
But they're going to come inspect. They're going to come check it out, right? Hang on a second, or hang on. We're gonna bring you back here, Sarah. 855-450-FREE. Plus, I want her to weigh in on the topless issue as well. 855-450-3733. Free Talk Live. It is Free Talk Live Sunday edition of the program. You're invited here to join us and take control of the airwaves. Should you want to do that, with you tonight, it's Ian,
Richie Rich,
and Mark.
Don't forget, go online to join us online at freetalklive.com and enjoy the features there. We've got the Discord server where you can interact with other Free Talk Live listeners for free around the clock. It's 24/7. There are people in the Discord server, different channels about different subjects. Cryptocurrency, gaming. There's one for On Air Now where you can talk about the things that are going on the air at the moment, or whatever you want to discuss. And then there's actually voice channels in which you can have voice chats with other Free Talk Live listeners at any time, whenever people want to do that. Then there's the channels that allow you to call into the show as well. It's all free, and the Discord app is available for basically every platform out there: iOS, Android, Linux, Mac, Windows. So I love having Discord on my phone. If you need to call in to Free Talk Live, you put Discord on your phone, call us on Discord. It's an upgrade to your call quality. It's huge.
Significant upgrade to your call quality.
It's amazing. The only reason I haven't switched over to Discord only is because we would lose Sarah. She doesn't have a smartphone. And, I don't want to do that, Sarah. So you're back here on Free Talk Live. But check us out over at discord.lrn.fm. Sarah doesn't have the internet. She doesn't have a smartphone, but she's got opinions. So
nothing wrong with that.
What was it you were telling us about a moment ago, Sarah? You remember we just have always have new listeners tuning in.
Section 8.
And stress.
Oh, yeah, she was getting ready for an inspection. Yeah. Now, is this a yearly, did you say, an annual inspection?
Yeah, and then they also bring you in for an appointment with all of the paperwork. But I have been suffering from massive anxiety every year doing this.
You're worried that you're not going to pass? Are you worried that your apartment is not clean enough? Or what is it that you're so anxious about?
Well, the anxiety, I think it has to do with my mother being stressed out when I was a fetus. That's my whole point. So
you're just saying you're anxious, period, around the clock, all the time?
Not all of the time, but especially stressful issue. And this is like a very stressful issue for me.
But you remember having those anxiety attacks as a child, I would assume then. It's not recently onset anxiety.
No, I've been having anxiety attacks enough to the point where I got hospitalized. And when they tested my blood, they said by my blood test, they said I have high anxiety when I got hospitalized. And I think
how does that manifest on a blood test?
It has a lot to do with when I was a fetus, the cortisol and the adrenaline pumped through my brain have affected it.
Well, Sarah, that's a theory at this point, and it's an interesting theory. I'm not calling it wrong or anything. I'm kind of curious about this presentation now. So you're dealing with having these Section 8 housing inspectors come through your house. How often do they come?
Once a year.
Okay. And these shiftless government bureaucrats are going to come through your house. They're going to determine whether or not you're worthy of Section 8 status, and they could just take it away from you, right?
They're checking for how clean I am, and they're checking also if everything works, because they're paying out the money, and then they want to make sure that it's good enough for them to pay the money. And plus, I have to go to an appointment and bring in all the paperwork that they tell me to bring in. So, I mean, it's a possible feat, but I suffer from massive anxiety. And what you guys always say is like, it's so simple. are you having a problem with it? Well, because I have a mental illness, and I suffer from obsessive-compulsive anxiety.
Can you give us some examples of how the obsessive-compulsive manifests? Like, what are some of the OCD things that you find yourself doing? Like, one of the classic examples is somebody who will lock, unlock their, like, front door or whatever at the...
Or cleaning things, wiping down.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, well, I check my door like 10 times. Like, yeah, that's what I do.
10 times a day or 10 times in a row?
Yeah, before I could leave.
No, 10 times.
So,
right before you leave, you're checking 10 times. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. Well, but all of it.
Is that because you're... Hold on, before you go on. Is that because something happened to you? Or did you have a home invasion at some point? Something horrific happened in your home?
No, this is actually... Your brain is linked to anxiety. Mm-hmm. And it translates into, like, germs. And then when I go...
Are you a germaphobe?
I have to do everything. Yeah, I'm a germophobia. I can't shake hands. And then people get really mad about it.
What do you do when you go into, like, a public bathroom? Do you, like, try to avoid touching things? You know, like opening doors with your elbow, or, like, how does that work?
Yeah, I do that kind of stuff, and I never...
Are you a hoverer?
On the toilet.
What's a hoverer?
Yeah, I do that, you know.
When you hold yourself over the toilet.
Yes, I got it now.
Okay.
I figured it out relatively quickly.
Good job, Mark.
If you pee, it shoots it into the toilet. Like
all right, we can't get into a whole lot of detail on how all that works because we're on the radio. Yeah, so I was just asking how much.
You should find a rich person who needs a house cleaner, and then you just have a place to live for free.
Well, but she'd be stressed out all the time having to keep the house clean.
Yeah, that's right. That's the idea.
To keep
the
her
house
stressed?
is never clean enough.
Well, the thing about it is what you're saying. You said it's a theory. No, it's a proven fact. If mental health professionals have documented that these stress hormones actually affect the brain of the baby. It's not a theory. They have proven it over and over.
What did you say was a theory?
I said that whether or not she was suffering from anxiety because of elevated cortisol levels of her mother during her mother's pregnancy with her is a theory that she has, and it's all very interesting. I was just kind of curious about how.
I'm not talking about myself, but the psychiatrists have documented and they have proven.
I thought you were talking about yourself. You said you were concerned that it was because of your mother.
Well, I mean, it's a theory for my part. I'm speculating that that's what happened to me, that I suffer with whatever's easy, whatever's simple and easy for you guys. It'll be a breeze. Sure. I suffer from massive anxiety. I'm saying that it must be because of that, but they have documented that the people, you know, the people that had mother that was stressed out when they
maybe
were
you should try some weed.
I don't know if that's going to work.
No, I don't smoke weed.
Well,
but anyways, I was going to make
now you've only proven his point, Sarah. I mean, because now if you say that you don't smoke weed, there's no way to know whether the weed would help. If you have a situation that sort of a crisis situation happens where you've got to get something done quickly, or it doesn't, or bad things happen, can you react quickly and get that thing done? Do circumstances make your anxiety go away? Are you only anxious when you have time to be anxious, or if something happens quickly, can you react or not?
Well, I mean, it depends on the circumstances. You know, it depends. But one time but most of the time I suffer from massive anxiety that other people do not suffer from.
Sure. Okay.
You know,
I'm not arguing that. I'm asking whether or not you could put that aside to manage a situation.
Well, I mean, I've never. Who knows? I mean,
she's never had to manage a situation, Mark.
She's managing something.
She doesn't work.
When you don't have
she's got once a year, she's got one thing that she has to do, which is to talk to some bureaucrats so she can get her Section 8 review.
Sometimes something falls off the kitchen counter.
I don't want to minimize the medical condition either, because lots of people do suffer from it, and there are solutions available if you want to seek them out.
Thanks for the call, Sarah. Appreciate hearing from you. The toll-free number is 855-450 free like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. You can take control of the airwaves here and bring up whatever's on your mind. Coming up, we got that Scotland story on the way. Free Talk Live.
Does your dog itch, scratch, stink, or shed like crazy? come to Dynavite for help.
Order a 90-day supply of Dynavite.
Dynavite for life.
Pick up 2 tubes of Doggo Suds.
Get the 3rd tube free.
Peppermint, tea tree, lavender, Doggo Sud shampoo.
Made with all-natural coconut, jojoba, aloe. Great for healthy skin and soft, shiny coats.
But no itchy, harsh chemicals.
Lather up, rinse away.
Try Doggo Suds. Buy 2, get 1 free.
At Dynavite.com.
DINOVITE.com.
This is Free Talk Live Sunday edition. We will take your calls and thoughts. If you make them, you may dial in toll-free at 855-450, free like freedom. And Bitcoin.com is your premier source for everything Bitcoin Cash related. Bitcoin.com can help you choose a Bitcoin Cash wallet, buy Bitcoin Cash, and show you where you can spend your Bitcoin Cash. You can also read the latest news or engage with the community on their forum. Plus, they've got a games section over at Bitcoin.com, where you can play games with Bitcoin Cash. If you are in the United States, you may have to use a VPN if that's something that you want to do. And from the research that we've done, Mark, it doesn't seem like it's illegal to actually, risk money on a website that's not located in the United States. And Bitcoin.com is not located in the United States.
It doesn't seem that way, but we aren't attorneys either.
That's true. Like I said, it's just the research we've done. Bitcoin.com, you should do your own research.
Right. Now, Bitcoin.com would prefer you to not be in the United States, so you would have to probably use some kind of VPN or something.
And then they won't know.
Right,
where you
and
are.
they wouldn't know.
Bitcoin.com. We continue your calls and thoughts. You may take control of the airwaves here. So in the early portion of the show, we had Lenore Skenazy on with us. She is originally from Free Range Kids, now the Let's Grow blog, or letgrow.org. And that led to a conversation about some creepy Orwellian, Huxleyan news out of Oregon State, where they might be having bureaucrats come into every newborn child's home to inspect, as well as adopted children, inspect the house, talk to the families. And that is a thing now, apparently, and that's coming soon in Oregon. Mark, you had a related story out of Scotland.
Scotland, yes, from BBC.com. It's
reputable BBC.com.
What's this?
Reputable BBC.com.
Unless they're reporting on their own government, in which case they're not reputable.
Well, this is their own government. So what is the named person scheme? They don't mind using the term scheme over there.
Mm-hmm.
Here it always has a nefarious sound to it, but over there they don't. The Scottish government wants to appoint a named person to monitor the welfare of every child in Scotland. The scheme was due to have been rolled out across Scotland by middle of 2016, but that timetable was delayed after the Supreme Court ruled that some of the proposals around information sharing breached the right to privacy and a family life under the European Convention on Human Rights. The Scottish government has vowed to amend the legislation and hopes to have it introduced by August of this year. Opponents of the scheme have been attempting to have it quashed by law courts. The law courts. Okay, arguing that the legislation amounts to a Big Brother scheme that will undermine parents, breach privacy, and divert resources away from children who are genuinely vulnerable.
Seems reasonable.
What's this?
Seems reasonable.
Seems reasonable. But many children's charities say named person will help ensure more cases of child abuse and neglect are uncovered and dealt with. So what is the named and found, like just discovered, created out of whole cloth, I'm sure, because child abuse is in the eye of the person who is determining what abuse is, right? So, or in the ear, or whatever.
I think there's some common ground on a good portion of it.
I consider spanking to be child abuse, but other people don't.
That is true, but on the extreme edges, as a society, I guess there might be someone out there who thinks it's okay, not just to spank, but to lash.
Like to hit a child with a closed fist or something like that.
And to bruise or mark. But I think generally the general consensus is that those extreme cases beyond spanking are abusive.
I think that most people will call child abuse the same thing, but there are some people who will call other things child abuse that are different, right? Teaching them different politics, religion, or whatever. Whatever the opinion is, it's there. For instance, one time my son and I were riding back from Florida to New Hampshire. We had dropped the boat off, picked up the car, and it had been a long car ride, and I told him, get out, run around.
Okay.
Yep. Get out, run around, make some noise. Because we were dropping off a friend, and I just told him, go make some noise. This is a small neighborhood, and he's going, run around, just running around the street, doing exactly what I told him to do, because he needed to get the energy out.
Sure.
A woman comes out of her house, breathless. Are you okay? Like, he runs to me from her. Because
stranger danger.
Right. He knows what a lunatic looks like. And the lady comes. She's like, oh, I scared him. Well, yeah, that's because you're nuts. And she was, now let me apologize. Because she realized it was just a kid running around and making some noise, because kids run around and make noise.
What they do. Yeah.
And she realized that she was
school hours, though. Was he truant in her eyes?
I have no clue what time of day. I couldn't even tell you. It's been so long. I don't know. It's been a couple of years. But, that lady there, I'll bet her determination of what child abuse is and isn't is not something I want put on my family's life.
Sure.
And I don't particularly want any officious government bureaucrat determining what it is. Like, maybe my kid's vaccination schedule is,
or lack thereof
is child abuse as far as they're concerned. Maybe whatever I'm teaching him based on of religion is child abuse by that person's standard. I don't know. The fact that maybe I move him up into the front seat of the car by 8 or 9 or 10 or 11 years old. I don't know what age. But if you let your kid ride in the front seat, is that child abuse? You're
not allowed to do that till a certain time in some places?
That's correct, in a certain weight.
See, that's a generational thing, too, man, because I used to ride, as a kid, in the back of a pickup truck.
Oh, yeah, the good old days.
The good old days.
I remember riding in a friend's. We loved this thing. It had a fold-out seat in the back of the faux wood station wagon, blind station wagon. It had this fold-out seat that we'd fight over who got to sit in that death trap.
Right.
Loved it.
Going on here. Most fun.
It was. The Scottish government wants Scotland to be the best place in the world for children to grow up or escape. It has said that most children and young people get all the help and support they need from their parents, wider family, and community, but sometimes they might need a bit of extra support.
As part of bureaucrats.
Yes. As part of this getting it right for every child strategy, that's in capital letters, so it's an name acronym? Of an organism. An organization. You just threw me off there. Yes, it's an acronym. GRIC.
The acronym, not an anachronism.
It's an acronym.
Right.
GRIC. The government proposed getting all children and young people from birth to 18 years access to a named person under the Children and Young People Scotland Act of 2014. The law has been.
I still want to know what a named person is.
It's the person that they named. It's a specific person.
It's an individual responsible for this oversight.
I see.
The law has been due to come into force across the country, several times. The Scottish government says that the named person is intended to be a single point of contact if a child or parents want information or advice, or if they want to talk about worries and seek support. They would also be a point for contact for other services if they have any concerns about a child's well-being. So they're basically a guardian ad litem that is appointed at birth all the way through. And if at any point this named person, who it could be a midwife, health visitor, head teacher, deputy head teacher, guidance teacher, depending on the age of the child. So by the sounds of it, it sounds like the kid will graduate to different types of named people. And likely these people will have several kids under their purview at any given time. This is bureaucracy.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
It's a job creation.
Other organizations such as independent or grant-aided schools and the Scottish Prison Services for young people held in custody will also have a legal requirement to make a named person available to the children and young people in their care. The Scottish government says that children and families are likely to see little difference, with the legislation merely formalizing the role that these professionals already have.
See, it's already happening. What's the big deal? We've already stepped this far into your life. We're just making it official now.
Right. Yeah. I'm sure my kid won't have any problem with a specific guardian ad litem just popping in and checking things out.
Bring candy. Everything will be fine.
Yeah, everything will be great.
It's like a Big Brothers Big Sisters organization.
Yeah, sure. Take a bowling and
right,
all kinds of fun with everybody.
First, we're going to go bowling, and then we're never going back to your parents' house.
So you mentioned 2014 in the article. Has this gone through, or is it still recent as of 2019?
It keeps getting bumped back.
Okay.
So it could be coming out this year in August.
All right,
Okay.
we got weed on the way. We got the story that we promised last night about California and Massachusetts. They have screwed up legalization because the black market is still running strong with cannabis there. It's Free Talk Live. This is Free Talk Live, and it's the live Sunday edition of the program. You can dial in here toll-free, take control of the airwaves if you want. Our number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. AnyPay makes it super easy to accept cryptocurrency at your point of sale, as long as your tablet's charged. That's what I ran into this afternoon at one of the local places. Somebody had forgotten to charge the tablet. But as long as you've got a working tablet, it's going to work super easy to accept crypto like Bitcoin, Dash, Zcash, Bitcoin Cash, and others. I think they're even taking Ripple now through AnyPay. So get on over to their brand new website, helpmetakebitcoin.com. They'll walk you through it. There's an iOS app. There's an Android app. So you load that app on your device that you have at your register. Go through the steps there at helpmetakebitcoin.com. That's one of the steps, by the way. There's only like 4 of them. It's not a long process to get started accepting cryptocurrency. We're talking about a matter of minutes, like probably 15 of them. And that presumes you don't even already have a Bitcoin wallet or a crypto wallet of some sort, like Edge Wallet, on your smart device already. Because if you've already got that, you're almost halfway done. Go to helpmetakebitcoin.com as we continue. Ian Ritchie and Mark in the studio here tonight. I mentioned this story. I've actually had it in my show prep for a little while because it's kind of, even though it's somewhat timely, it's still something that is going to last as far as its topicaliness. Is that a word? 3 people from California, this is from BostonGlobe.com. 3 people from California at Logan Airport, their suitcases stuffed with 150 pounds of pot, 20 marijuana bags delivered to a Dorchester office, and 3 houses in Braintree, Quincy, and Westford empty, save for dozens of cannabis plants.
You think that they really call it Dorchester?
Dorchester.
I have no idea.
Dorster?
I mean, they screw up every other word. Yeah.
It's all you furners moving in is what it is.
So much for putting the drug dealers out of business. More than 2 years after Massachusetts voters legalized marijuana, the illegal market remains stubbornly robust. Some 75% of the pot sold in the state this year, this was written a couple months ago, will be under the table. The major impediment has been the achingly slow rollout of licensed pot shops, and at the current rate, it could take another 3 years or more before enough stores are open to make an appreciable dent in the black market. Quote, "They've made it so inconvenient," said Jennifer Dudley, talking about buying legal pot.
Sure, if you were going, if you had to buy your alcohol and you had to drive several counties away to do it and buy in quantity and bring it back to your house and keep and consume it only there, it's likely you'd want some moonshiner to just deliver it to you.
I don't think this is the only state that's having that problem either. Yeah.
Mark's got a story about California.
Too, yeah.
In fact, they even have a chart breaking down the percentages by state as far as how many people are buying in the black market. The ones that are telling the truth,
sure.
On these surveys. As more states legalize marijuana, she says a further quote from Jennifer, the 31-year-old cannabis consumer from Reading, Massachusetts. Reading? Okay. The few stores that are open, quote, in the middle of nowhere, she says, the line was so crazy, I didn't even bother going in. I kept the black market alive instead, she says. As more states legalize it, they're finding mixed success shrinking the criminal trade. By some estimates, 80% of pot sales in California are done in the shadows, a year after going fully legal. States that have had a recreational marijuana.
But California has basically been legal for like 30 years now.
25?
23. The middle of the 90s, right?
96 was when they passed Proposition 215.
So all you have to do is say, my back hurts or I get headaches or whatever variety of things. I mean, they got like chiropractors. Everybody can give this stuff out. It's not difficult to get your marijuana card. And you're telling me that 80% of people still getting it illegally? I'm just surprised.
So here's the thing about California, because
must be no enforcement.
Although I don't use those substances, on our way here to New Hampshire, we did stop off at a dispensary in California, myself and my wife, because her friend said, "You got to check this place out. It's like the Apple store." And she was kind of right. I peered in through the window, and they don't have any product out. They just have tablets that, show you what the product is, and then they help you like one-on-one.
And then they retrieve it from storage or whatever.
Correct. Yeah. But the reason I didn't go in is because upon entering, you have to ID yourself.
That's right.
And then they put you into the system. And I went, I don't use this stuff. I don't want to be in the system.
Right.
You go have fun. You go check it out. You can go in whatever system you want.
So what did your wife think of the place?
She bought stuff. So she thought it was really cool that how easy it was to get it once you went in there.
Once you give up all your information, it's easy to get.
Right. Which, at first she's like, well, she was just going to look. So who cares if they have the information? She wasn't going to buy anything. So she wasn't going to be, put onto like the customer list or anything.
That's how these things work.
Right. But she did purchase. So upon walking out, she is now like in the California system somewhere. As a purchaser of cannabis products.
Well, I don't know if they report that to the state directly, but certainly a state agent could come and inspect their files.
Absolutely.
I imagine at some point. I'm not sure what the exact rules are there. Let's go to Rodney calling us in Texas, watching on Twitch. Go ahead, Rodney.
Yeah, I want to talk about Mark was about Aria Uncensored. I do like the show. And I don't think there's any right answer on how Mark was explaining when does a man become a woman or when does a woman become a man. Now, this might be a controversial idea that I might be wrong, but if a man can turn into a woman, and I'll call her she or whatnot, but I think it's official when they had the operation.
You're saying Aria would not be a woman until she cut her junk off.
I think that's why I think she can be topless on the show, and you guys shouldn't get banned.
I think it's a high level of it shows a high level of commitment, doesn't it?
But how would Twitch know?
If you did the operation.
Hold on. How would Twitch know? Because Twitch doesn't know what's down there, and they can't require somebody to prove one way or the other. So all they can say is this person is presenting as a woman. She's got long hair. She's dyed her hair. She's wearing eye makeup like a woman would.
She's calling herself she.
She's calling herself she.
I think that would be the difference between Twitch policy and the legal definition of whatever.
And what if you had a fat man? There are fat mans with big breasts.
With nipples, yeah.
Moobs, as they are referred to.
Without a shirt on.
Yeah.
What would they say about that? And say he had long hair.
They'd say what everybody else says. Yuck.
Put your shirt on, Tubby.
I love you guys. I love the show.
Thanks, Rodney. I appreciate the call tonight. Thanks for watching us there on Twitch while we're still there.
I want to make one distinction as well.
I don't know if we're going to make it through the week.
Briefly.
On Twitch.
Why is that?
Because I don't know what's going to happen on Tuesday night. Go ahead.
So I don't know when this changed, like in the general culture, but at one point there was like there were different words and distinctions between cross-dressers, transvestites, and transsexuals, right? And then somehow
I still don't know the difference.
Oh, okay.
Well, a few of them are considered insults to people who really believe, really call themselves transsexuals. Or trans, I think, is the new term. You don't even use transsexual anymore.
Well, trans could be short for transgender or transsexual, and there's a difference between them. I'm just not sure what it is. Because I asked Aria once, and she says she would prefer to go by transsexual. So apparently there's a difference between those.
See, and I wouldn't have, and prior to the LGBT movement, right, I would not have considered her to be a transsexual because she has not made the full transition.
Right, which may be why she's a transsexual instead of transgender?
Well, no, so I would say she would be...
Because she's presenting as a different sex.
Which would be a transvestite, as far as my old definition.
I think that would be... I think that's insulting, too.
It may be insulting, but it used to be a distinction, right? It was... I had
know
the surgery.
She doesn't like the
It used to be that you would call somebody who is of Mexican descent, born in the United States, a Chicano. But I hear you don't do that anymore. It used to be acceptable to call somebody who's half black and half white a mulatto.
That's not.
But I hear you don't
either.
do that anymore.
I've heard you use that before.
That's not. That's an offensive word, mulatto.
Yeah, I'm afraid so.
I understand that it's now
it used to be somebody
offensive.
who was from Asia you called Oriental, but you don't do that anymore.
Or ornamentals, as my cousin used to say. Even funnier. But I get
you
my
guys
point
can fool around like that in Hawaii.
Yeah,
not so much on the west coast of the United States.
I guess my point is that I think a lot of the a lot of the waters have been muddied because there's no distinction. Like, what does it mean to be trans? Have you had the surgery? Have you not had the surgery? Do you plan on having the surgery? Do you just like using the dress? Do you mentally, emotionally feel like, the opposite sex? And offensive or not, those terms used to have more meaning than they do now.
This would be an interesting discussion for Aria to have on her next appearance. So we'll leave that to that time. We'll continue with your calls and thoughts. 855-450-FREE. That's our toll-free number. Whether you want to weigh in on trans issues, which we aren't really well-equipped to discuss.
We're not well-equipped to talk sports either, but people call in about it.
True. Well, we don't. It doesn't usually last for very long when they do.
This won't last very long either.
Yeah, 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. More about the black market continuing to dominate. 89.7% of marijuana sales, according to this study,
that's 90%,
in Massachusetts, are on the black market still more than 2 years after legalization. It's Free Talk Live.
This is Michael Dean from the Freedom Fiends. I've run websites since 1996 and have used over a dozen web hosts in that time. AgristHosting.com is the only one that hasn't broken my heart. Agrist Hosting's uptime and service is stellar, and their DDoS mitigation is the best I've seen. That's important because if you tell the truth in this world, you'll ruffle feathers. And some people will try dirty tricks to silence your voice. No matter what the haters hit us with, Agrist Hosting keeps our websites online. If you have a mission-critical commercial presence or a world-changing activism site, you cannot tolerate any skullduggery. So go with AgristHosting.com. Have a WordPress or blog site, but you're not satisfied with performance or uptime? Or just want raw hosting? Want to pay with Bitcoin? Agrist Hosting specializes in high-performance hosting with personalized service. Go to agristhosting.com and click on the button that says Get Hosted. That's agristhosting.com.
It's Free Talk Live. We're launching into the third hour here. It is the live Sunday edition of the program. As always, you're invited if you want to join us. Our toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. With you tonight, it's Ian.
Richie Rich.
And Mark.
855-450-3733. We've got the Discord on-air call-in line rooms as well. They're open for you over at discord.lrn.fm. In fact, that's where we're going to go to next. But coming up, if you're just tuning in, we have been talking about the illegal marketplace, the black market in cannabis sales, and how dramatic in some states like Massachusetts and California, the black market, a dramatic hold the black market still has on pot sales, even though it's legal and even though somebody can just go into a store and buy it. They're still going through the black market. We'll dig in a little bit deeper into that coming up here.
Keeps you out of the database and your name off the list.
There's that, and you probably get better service if you have a delivery person or something like that. Let's go to Penguin calling us from the free market on our Discord server. Go ahead, Penguin.
Hey, guys. Last time I called, I originally was wanting to call about this subject. I think it was like the first day that you had been suspended from Twitch. And then I eventually did call, and it was about a different topic. So I kind of didn't call to like the last segment. But since it got brought up again, I just kind of wanted to share my opinions on it. I mean, most of these platforms will have definition based around like female presenting nipples.
They don't. Not on Twitch.
Not on Twitch, apparently. But the way Twitch is wording it, I think my interpretation of it is that they're trying to give a little bit more leeway instead of having a very strict rule. And I mean, to some extent, I would see why a platform that wants to be like an entertainment platform for people to do live streaming would want to not have full-on nudity in their streams, because there's a lot of websites for that.
Right. There's plenty of streaming porn websites out there. If you want to do a streaming porn website, do it. And
Aria did suggest that we should do it on Pornhub.
And
they would welcome you.
Right. Well, there's one guy who does sort of regular streams on Pornhub, and he has a lot of followers.
Wow.
They were talking about moving all the ammunition videos and gun videos from YouTube to Pornhub.
Right.
YouTube started to ban that.
Yeah, we talked about that when that happened. I think a channel that I support on Patreon actually started putting some of their videos on Pornhub just as like an experiment, and it became like a trend.
Yeah.
I guess they were one of the first to do it. But yeah, I mean, I think there's good market reasons why they want to they don't want to be super strict about this, because they don't want to be known as being super strict cops about their rules. But at the same time, they would probably not, because if you opened it up to nudity, obviously you'd get a lot of pushback from people not wanting children going to the site.
Well, it's clear that it's clear in their, one of the things that is clear in their policy is that nudity is not allowed. But they don't define nudity.
What constitutes nudity?
It depends on who you ask, which states' regulations we're talking about here. In New Hampshire, as I understand it, nudity has to do with the public display of genitalia, in which case breasts are not genitalia, so therefore that doesn't qualify as nudity.
What, was Arya being lewd? Was she?
No, she wasn't like rubbing on herself or anything like that. No.
Was that another part of the definition?
Let me read it for you here. Here's from Twitch's community guidelines for listeners just tuning in. We're talking about our temporary ban from Twitch that has expired as of tonight. We're back now at twitch.lrn.fm. But here's the nudity and attire section of their community guidelines. Quote, streaming is a public activity. Therefore, we recommend creators wear attire that is appropriate public attire for a given context, intent, or activity. That's the nebulous part, right?
Yep. Certainly was her intent to be controversial and probably get banned. But
it's called Aria Uncensored.
Right.
And here is Ian breathlessly trying to determine what is censorable about the program called Uncensored.
For game streams, most at-home streams, and profile channel imagery, we recommend attire appropriate for public settings, such as what you would wear on a public street or to a mall or restaurant. Well, now those are two different things, right? Yeah. Like, if I'm on a public street, I can be topless. If I'm in a mall or a restaurant, odds are they have a shirt rule that would be required on me.
And that would be a property rights thing with the mall owner versus the public street.
Right. For example, for a fitness stream or an IRL stream from a location such as a public beach, attire appropriate to those public contexts is recommended, such as workout clothes or a swimsuit respectively, which of course suggests that men would be allowed to be topless at a public beach.
Yeah, Speedos.
She did a beach backdrop instead of the LRN.
Get a green
banner,
screen with a beach in the background.
Do some like squats or something. So like you're outside working out topless.
As noted in the section above, attire is just one factor of many that we consider when evaluating reports for potential sexual conduct. Finally, they say attire intended to be sexually suggestive and nudity are prohibited. So nudity prohibited. Clear, right? Okay. Attire intended to be sexually suggestive. So wearing like sexy lingerie or something like that would probably qualify as that.
Your nipple pasties might be caught up in that too then.
Good point. Attire or lack of attire intended to be sexually suggestive includes undergarments, intimate apparel, or exposing/focusing on male or female genitals, buttocks, or nipples. So that's the end. That's the nudity.
Do you think you could slide by that video of the guy who about Halloween time carved the pumpkin here on Local Access and then sort of talked lovingly to a hole the pumpkin?
He had a slit carved in the pumpkin.
Carved in the pumpkin.
And he started rubbing that part of the pumpkin, while saying fairly lewd sounding things, but without
squash.
Yeah, without crossing a line.
Naughty, naughty fruit.
Yeah.
Reminds me of American Pie. It's like warm apple pie. It's like a nicely carved
and that caused
pumpkin.
some controversy.
Oh yes,
at the
it
local
did. It's
public
pretty clear
access
what that
station.
guy was trying to do, but he never crossed a line.
No.
Because
I wish I could find that video today.
God,
man.
it was
I
good.
wish I could find it. Anyway,
don't worry. One of our audience members will make a video like that for you.
Yeah, but it won't be the same. Anyway, go ahead. Anything else you got, Free Market Penguin?
Well, I guess we'll see what happens on Tuesday. But
I don't know what she's going to do. I know she was talking about just not even streaming on Twitch, but I think that the idea.
What does DLive say?
DLive does not allow nudity. Their policy is more clear than Twitch. They don't have this sort of nebulous. Well, it depends on where you are.
Would she have violated DLive's policy?
I don't think so. But then again, they don't define nudity either.
Okay.
So
someone has to report it.
Somebody does have to report. That's true. But I would presume the same people reporting on Twitch may have also reported us on DLive. But I don't know. We don't know who sends the reports. Then again, or actually, in addition, we've got this Tata Top thing. that you had brought up. We didn't know what it was called until tonight, but
that's even better than what I was talking about, because I was talking about like hairy male nipples.
Oh, on a photograph of hairy male nipples on
a bikini
top.
Right.
I went and looked for nipple bikini top or whatever, and
even
then
better.
I found the tatatop.com, where there's airbrushed, but they look pretty good from a distance, airbrushed
from
nipples.
Here I couldn't tell.
So they're not actual photographs.
Yeah, I mean,
on a bikini top.
Pretty clear what they are.
It's brilliant. I think it's hilarious, and so I have suggested this to Aria. I said, "Well, what do you think about this?" And if so, I am willing to buy this $34.
Would you get the darker
bikini
one because it's on sale for her? Just to
get her the black color nipples.
Oh God!
I don't know. Whatever she would want.
All I wanted to do was be on the radio, Richie Rich. I mean, I don't know how this ever happened to me. I just wanted to talk to libertarians about how to make a better world.
Have to be cheaper.
I don't know.
It just
it's
happens
on sale.
to be.
Maybe they have more.
Supply and demand is the answer.
Isn't that a bit racialist?
Sorry.
Take it up with Top. It's on sale. And,
well, does that mean they're racialist against the white people because they're giving a better deal to the black ladies?
It's whatever is convenient for the person who wants to talk about it.
I think it's probably they just have too many in inventory and they want to move them. That would be my guess. Hey, thanks for the call tonight. Appreciate it. That's Penguin there on our Discord server over at discord.lrn.fm. And yes, you can sound that good too. All you have to do is have the Discord app on your device of preference, whether that's your smartphone or laptop or whatever it is. As long as you get a microphone and probably something with which you can listen, like headphones, that would be helpful. So, discord.lrn.fm, you can join us there. Whether you want to talk about transsexuals on Twitch or
Transylvania.
We can continue with the Massachusetts and California status of who's buying what as far as marijuana in the black market versus the legal marketplace and why. This is Free Talk Live. Free Talk Live. You're invited here if you want to join us. Our toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. We're going to look further at what's going on in Massachusetts and California with people still buying their marijuana in the black market because, well, we'll figure that out. Coming up here with you tonight, it's Ian.
Richie Rich.
And Mark.
And also want to make sure you know about Liberty.menu. If you are an individual who rejects the initiation of force and agrees to abide by the ethics of the non-aggression principle, then get on over to Liberty.menu and put the thing or things that you do up on the site for other people to find out about, like, an event that you might be organizing or helping to promote, or the digital content that you create, or perhaps a business that you have that you'd like some more business at. Get on over to Liberty.menu. You can use code FTL. That'll get you a free badge on your profile. We can't give you a discount because it's free to post the things that you do over at Liberty.menu. If you want some extra exposure, possibly some new customers, it's possible. You got to let people know, though. And Liberty.menu will help you let other liberty-minded folks know that you exist.
People asked us for this for years.
Yes.
It's a location where they could go and find other libertarians with which to do business, and now you've got it. Liberty.menu. Yes.
Yeah, and it works well, and it looks good, and it's easy to use and free. Liberty.menu. As we continue, David is in New Mexico. He's listening via the TuneIn app. Go ahead, David.
Yeah, that home visiting thing. But so you should be able to go on the air on Twitch naked with a tire around you, wearing a tire.
If you're doing an auto parts
Why do
show,
I like
maybe.
his jokes?
I was just going to say with that, Mark always laughs at the same jokes. We got the same warped sense of humor.
Sad.
Okay, was that all you had? Was this a joke, or was you calling out something else?
No, that's why I said home visiting before I said the joke.
Ah, okay.
A couple different things. First of all, the way I see it is, and it helps to understand what they're trying to do to you. If you look at it, that it's not, stop applying rationality to, they're doing this to protect children from abuse, and abuse is defined as, that's all a smokescreen. They're not doing it to protect children. And just like they use everything, whatever subject you're on, whether it's currency, banking, education, financial aid, hawk lights, whatever. Everything that they do is not to protect you; it's to gain control. So if you look at it through that lens, everything makes more sense.
Yeah. Sure does.
And yeah.
I think everybody in the studio would agree with that. We do our best to see through that smoke screen.
Yeah, humans like having control over other humans, and the humans that get into situations of control, positions of power, are more likely to want to exert power over other people, and the higher they go up, the more twisted they get.
And they push the boundaries, right? How much more control can we extort from people?
Yeah. Yep.
And Mark had mentioned the guardian ad litem. You should do a search for CASA for Children, CASA, Court Appointed Special Advocate, which is a program that has been used for a long time in the United States. And what it is just any idiot can apply to be certified as a CASA. You don't need any qualifications whatsoever, a high school diploma, and they'll give you like 40 hours of training, and then you can go into the courtroom and protect children. So these CASAs will be in a courtroom in a hearing, whether it's abuse and neglect or the state brought the case against a negligent or a neglectful or abusive parent, or even if the state did not bring any case and it's a mother and a father in a private divorce with children with custody issues, the court can appoint a guardian ad litem, which is usually a lawyer, not always, and or a CASA. And so that these people are assigned by court order by the judge to be up your rear end and come into court and get into all your business and go and interview doctors, lawyers, therapists.
Well, busybodies would love this job.
Well, I was going to go the other way. I'd say that's a good job for like a libertarian infiltration, right? Because then you can occupy the
They're
position.
going to require you to do certain things you're not going to want to do.
The last thing I want to do is get in between two parents who are arguing about their kids. I mean, God.
I don't think you have to get in between them. I'm saying, you can protect them from the state by being the intermediary.
Half the kids in this country need to be protected from one of two of their parents.
Okay.
Yeah, so you could protect the children from the state. However, do you think that ever in reality, those aren't the people that have that mindset are not volunteering to be a CASA and go into court. It's the people that
I agree
are
with Richie.
Yeah, and then if you were a libertarian type, you would likely to be disqualified for some reason because you're not going to follow the orders of the state and the.
Well, that's why I said infiltration.
Yeah, you'd have to pretend like you are very obedient, likely to get the job.
Get the job, and then once you have the job, then you can,
Well, I think I'm safe as a convicted felon. I think I'm good.
I'm not applying for it either.
Thanks for the call, man. I appreciate it. Toll-free number here, 855-450 free, like freedom, if you want to join us here. So we were talking about the story from the Boston Globe, and Mark, you've got a similar one from California,
right?
About how now 2 years after Massachusetts had a ballot initiative in 2016. Voters passed, with a good margin, I think, the legalization of cannabis. At least a couple stores have opened. I don't know. I know as of November there were 2 stores. I haven't looked to see if there have been some more that have opened since then. But regardless, people in Massachusetts, nearly 90%
How do you know there were
of
2 stores in November?
Because I went to one of them. We talked about it on the air at that time. As more states legalize marijuana, says the story, they're finding mixed success in shrinking the criminal trade. By some estimates, 80% of pot sales in California are done in the shadows a year after going fully legal. States that have had regulated recreational market opening longer or operating longer, Colorado, Washington, and Oregon, have been more successful in getting cannabis consumers to buy legal. So looking at the charts here, Colorado, 33% are buying on the black market. Colorado, 2018, 33%. Oregon, 48%, Washington, 39%, California, 82%, and Massachusetts, nearly 90% buying in the black market. Massachusetts regulators say they've issued licenses as quickly as possible under the law, which requires applicants to first negotiate contracts with local governments, an often long, arduous process.
Well, there's your problem right there.
State officials say shrinking the illicit market is a top priority. It undermines tax revenues, hurts legitimate businesses, and supplies kids with marijuana. Because if we got it all into the legal market, then no children would ever get their hands on marijuana. I mean, that doesn't happen with alcohol.
I think it's funny that they're saying hurts legitimate businesses. These are like newly created businesses.
Some of them are. Some of them actually, in Massachusetts, the way they're doing the rollout is they're only allowing initially the medical facilities to do it. So the ones that were already in business are actually the ones that are that have started doing recreational. After that, they've got a tiered system, as I understand it, where minority owners of businesses will be given licenses before other people.
But it's as if the black market just came along to steal businesses away from these legitimate businesses and medical facilities.
No, the black market's always been there, and they're just still doing what they've always done.
But now they're hurting legitimate businesses. Before, no one even paid attention to them, and they were like just the criminal underbelly. And now they're actually impacting legitimate businesses.
The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE like freedom. If you want to join us here, you can take control of the airwaves. More about the black market versus the legal regulated market. And there's an excellent speech that Rich Paul gave about regulations and why we don't need them at all on the cannabis business. And that video's up right now at freekeen.com. It's from the 420 that happened last weekend. I cranked that out today, so check that out too when you get a chance. This is Free Talk Live. Free Talk Live has found that though U.S. financial institutions are prohibited from doing business with foreign gambling websites, it's not illegal for U.S.-based internet users to gamble on those sites. People have been using VPNs or virtual private networks to connect to sites like games.bitcoin.com and play games with Bitcoin Cash. Games.bitcoin.com features poker, blackjack, roulette, craps, keno, slots, and dice. You can conduct your own investigation at games.bitcoin.com. It's Free Talk Live, and you can bring up whatever you want here. Live Sunday edition with you tonight. It's Ian,
Richie Rich,
and Mark.
And don't forget, you can check out Richie on his own show, The Anarchist Experience.
AnarchistExperience.com.
Excellent. You did a show yesterday?
Was it yesterday? Yeah, we did it last night.
What'd you guys cover? Do you remember?
Yeah, my co-host forgot what day it was. So
nice.
So when we would normally do the show, he wasn't around. So I started doing it by myself, and then all of a sudden, like a notice popped up on Facebook that he was on. So, hey, dude, you want to jump on?
In the middle
of the show. So we did. Is the state necessary? We kind of covered the Slavoj Zizek versus Jordan Peterson debate a little bit.
I'm not familiar with this.
Oh, wow. It might not be of interest to you, but he's a Marxist, and Jordan
Slavoj. What's his name?
Slavoj Zizek.
Okay.
He's hard to listen to, but he debated Jordan Peterson, which it was supposed to be a Marxism versus capitalism debate with some happiness mixed in, and it was weird. So we talked about it.
Cool.
We both watched it. It can be interesting if that's your thing, and cutting off foreign aid altogether was a future.
That was another topic.
Yeah, Future Freedom Foundation article on that.
Check him out at anarchistexperience.com. All right, we continue here. Your calls and thoughts welcome. More on the black market continuing to dominate in a couple of legal cannabis states in Massachusetts and California. Let's go first, though, to James in Michigan, listening online. Go ahead, James.
Yeah, I'm on the local planning commission board, and we're discussing here in Michigan. As you know, they passed it, and they have until, I want to say it's December 6th of this year, or the state does, to pass it, to make its rules.
About?
Meanwhile,
to make a rule about what?
They're going to about the legalization of marijuana that was on the ballot last November.
Oh, okay, right. So that passed. Michigan, the first Midwestern state to legalize cannabis. But what you're saying is they have yet to write the state regulations?
Yeah. They have 1 year, the legislation does, to pass rules, essentially.
Okay.
For everything. But here at a local level, we're looking at zoning ordinances kind of ahead of the game to not be caught off guard. So you got to imagine I'm in this meeting of 9 people, one of them a former judge, several others lawyers.
I hope you're saying that anyone should be able to buy it and anyone should be able to sell it from any location they can meet to do that transaction.
Yeah, that's essentially my argument is I can walk into a pharmacy and buy opioids to anything else you could think of, and there's really no restriction on where they can do that. In fact, we have a Walgreens a block from a high school.
You got to be careful, then they'll limit it to just pharmacies.
I got a bad feeling further in this discussion that the state is going to come in with just a hammer and make it unreasonable, because we voted in as a ballot initiative, not a legislative initiative. So, the legislation is going to be upset that the voters made a decision without their say.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. The politicians hate that stuff. Very rarely are they delighted by the notion that people actually do attempt to rule themselves.
The people deciding what's best for them? We must show them why they need us.
When they're running, right?
So how has it gone when you've proposed to abolish the entire planning board? You've done that, right?
No, I have not.
Oh, man.
I hear you, though.
It's an interesting attack.
Unfortunately, guess what? The state legislates that every township body has to have 9-person boards that you can't fill.
Wow.
You can't get people to do because you can't pay them.
Because it's god-awful, thankless work that just, basically a lot of attracts busybodies who want to control other people. Obviously, if you were to make that proposal, you'd probably lose 8-1 on that vote. But it would be interesting to have the discussion at the very least. But as you said, you can't even do it from the board level. It would have to be something they changed at the state level to abolish planning boards.
Right.
Good luck. What if you all submitted resignation letters at the same time?
They just have to find 9 more somehow.
Yeah.
James, thanks for sharing that. Anything else you want to throw out there?
Well, basically, all I wanted to throw out there is on what you're talking about, the black market, and that's the point I continuously make, is I bring up other states, mainly California, how they over-regulated it, and we have to be careful not to do the same thing. In other words, I'm trying to talk these people into, hey, if you put any regulation on this whatsoever, people are just going to do it anyway and ignore your regulation.
Right.
Yeah. As they have been doing, because it's been
right. They seem so convinced that somehow they can, control how people get marijuana. But here we are showing that 90% of people in states where marijuana is legal for recreational use are getting their marijuana through illegal means.
In Massachusetts, and the numbers were for 2018, and 2018 only had 2 months, or like 2 months basically of legal marijuana sales.
Fine, I'm willing to go out on a limb and say a large plurality of people in states where marijuana is recreationally available are getting their marijuana illegally.
Yeah, it's true.
For whatever, you can't control this.
James,
the more you control it, the more likely they are to get it illegally.
Thanks for calling. Thanks for sharing your story tonight. Good luck on that planning board. It sounds awful. The toll-free number here is 855.
Thank you for your service.
450-FREE. That's 855.
Do we even want to talk? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, 855-450-3733.
Do we even want to talk about the Second Amendment angle to the marijuana legalization?
And what is that?
In some places, once you get your license to possess marijuana, they say now you're no longer able to own a firearm.
Yeah, that's a federal thing, right?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think that's a federal
We're
thing.
getting the nod from the crowd.
Right.
It's the feds are certainly the ones who don't want to take the guns away the most.
By the way, I did look at a different story from Boston Globe about, because I was curious, it was 2 pot shops that were legal for recreational sales when it first started, and that resulted in lines that were hours long, weeks after they opened, because Will Coley had gone down there a few weeks. We went on opening day. Some of the folks from Free Talk Live and I went on opening day just to kind of see what it was like. And we waited 3 hours from when they first opened the doors in the morning. We were there an hour before that, so it took us 2 hours to get in. And we were there for an hour, then they opened the doors, and then it took us 2 hours to actually get inside the building.
Good for the connected business.
And right. And then he went a few weeks later, and it was still a 3-hour wait. There was still a humongous line around the block waiting to get into this thing, in the middle of the day on just some random weekday. But now, according to a recent article, there are 15 stores that are currently open, with more coming soon. So there are definitely way more options now in Massachusetts than there were in the first month or two. Massachusetts regulators say they've issued their licenses as quickly as possible. Police want harsher punishments, but civil rights advocates say that would result in the same kind of racially biased enforcement that legalization aimed to end. Regardless, everyone agrees Massachusetts' illicit market isn't going anywhere anytime soon. According to the story here, with just 8 stores open, many in towns far from Greater Boston, consumers say it's easier to buy from nearby dealers than drive an hour, wait in line, and pay higher prices. And ultimately, that's why people are going to continue using the black market. Even if it is a short line, even if you happen to be in the same town as one of these stores, it's still going to probably be cheaper on the black market because the black marketeers, they're not paying taxes.
Yeah.
There's no regulatory burden on them, so they don't have to deal with all that stuff. Therefore, they can pass on the savings to their customers.
And just wait for these legal shops to start advocating that no more licenses be given out because there's too many of them and they're losing business and profits.
You're probably right. There probably will be some of them that do that.
Just give it time.
Chris Lucchesi, who's 43, a surgical instrument sterilizer in Methuen, says, I'm not going out of my way. The prices are too high. What you see for prices is twice what you pay on the black market. And from what I saw down in Northampton, that's absolutely true.
All overhead.
Yeah. It's no surprise economists say that unlicensed sellers with regular customers would decline to become legal given the cost of complying with the many state regulations. Advocates say many people would love to get into the business, but they can't afford the lawyers, architects, and consultants needed to win a license. Further, I guarantee you, and Rich Paul pointed this out at the 420 last week in Concord, that if you're a felon, especially one busted for marijuana sales or some other drug so-called crime with no victim, you ain't getting a license.
Right. You're showing qualifications.
You're the most uniquely qualified.
Exactly. 855-450 free. That's our toll-free number. If you want to join us here, we're talking weed. It's Free Talk Live. Free Talk Live. The final segment of this live Sunday edition of the show. You can dial in here toll-free at 855-450-FREE, like freedom, 855-450-3733. We've got the Discord on-air call-in line rooms over at discord.lrn.fm. And in the studio tonight, it's Ian. Oops, sorry, try that again.
Richie Rich.
Right. And Mark.
So we're going back to your phone calls and thoughts. We've been talking about the interesting news that in states like California and Massachusetts, where there's significant regulations that have been layered on top of the cannabis industry, that surprise, people would rather just go ahead and order from their longtime cannabis dealer, the one they've been ordering from forever. Because my point on this has certainly been on legalization is that there are very few people who aren't using cannabis today who want to in illegal places, right? So if it's illegal where you live, if you want to use cannabis, you probably are. There's maybe a very small portion of the population who was like, all right, finally it's legal. Now I can try cannabis. Because most of us have had at some point friends or family members or neighbors offer us marijuana. There's usually somebody that you know in your life, as long as you're not like some sort of drug warrior freak that, you know, they're just hiding it from you. But there's somebody that you know who's probably a regular cannabis user. If you wanted it, you could just talk to that person.
Maybe on the medical side, there's new people like the kids suffering from seizures who take the oils.
Yeah, that's true.
I
still, you know, no matter what they say about this stuff, like this just won't increase numbers or anything. I just feel like there's some people who will smoke or smoke more because now it's legal.
There are some, but I don't think it's a significant number of them.
Yeah. What we can say is that alcohol sales go down and DUI deaths go down.
Really?
Well,
are those correlative or no, I guess they're not.
Yeah,
they are correlative.
Yeah,
right?
It's correlation. We don't know it's causation at this point, but I'm going to go ahead.
So you're
saying
in Colorado, in Washington, we've had enough years to look at the numbers,
right? And they're seeing fewer DUI deaths as it's been reported to me. I mean, I'm sure there's people on the other side of this issue that are finding something. I'll bet you kids find candy or something made into marijuana, and they have a kind of a weird night. So, that's not positive.
Wouldn't want to be the guy who dropped that on the ground.
We're going to get back to your calls, but I thought this was an interesting quote to share from Joanna Varner, a 36-year-old medical marijuana patient in Weymouth, Massachusetts. She wants to start a business selling cannabis-infused tea, cookies, brownies, and granola. However, she says, quote, it takes thousands of dollars just to even think about applying, unfortunately. That's not even talking about your business equipment at all. So just the application process. Better hire an attorney.
Yep.
She says it's nearly impossible. So that's why you need to hire an attorney, right? Because then they can walk you through the process.
They make it nearly impossible for a reason.
And
so
who writes the laws?
The attorneys do.
Yeah.
Attorneys write laws so that attorneys have jobs because attorneys find attorneys' work to be valuable. Everybody else calls them liars, not lawyers.
Let's go to Dodger in Michigan, listening on the TuneIn app. Go ahead, Dodger.
I just kind of wanted to point out I had my cousin is very good friends with this guy, and it's a guy that I went to high school with. And go figure, he had the only dispensary in the county that was, did medical marijuana once it became legal. And now that recreational is legal in Michigan, he is lobbying the state Congress to essentially make it so that in order to get the essentially everything. I mean, this guy is invested hundreds of thousands of dollars into it.
So wait, what is he lobbying them to do?
Sounds like he's trying to protect his interests.
To make sure that everything that is sold recreationally goes through like these certain stipulations.
So he wants more controls being put on. I mean, they're still writing the regulations. So he wants more regulations, more controls on the manufacturing process
for recreational centers.
The testing process after everything is said and done, in order to be able to sell it. Now that this guy has pretty much had a sort of kind of monopoly in our county because he's the only person in the county that
so
was
he
able
thinks
to sell.
He should be listened to. He's got political sway, and he wants to make it as difficult as possible for anyone to compete with him once they start opening up recreational. That figures. These bastards ought to go screw themselves because they are just awful. They're just
That's how it is, right? They just he didn't get into business to make money for other people. He got in it for himself.
Right, but the market opened up for you, dude, and to advocate that everybody else should be kept out, you ought to be ashamed of yourself.
It's a pretty normal human thing to do.
I welcome competition.
This is how the Yankees are when they come down to Florida, right? Every one of them comes down to live in our home state, Ian, where we were born, and they're like, well, now that we're here, let's figure out ways to keep the other Yankees from coming. Well, it just doesn't work that way.
What pisses me off is that I went to high school with this dude. I mean, he's...
well, was he a jerk then, too? I'm not sure what that has to do with anything.
Well, it's just like he's always been like this big, legalization of cannabis advocate type of dude. And then
because he wanted to be the first in there.
And then I find out that he is actually like lobbying our state Congress to essentially make it to where...
it's frustrating.
It really,
Dodger, thanks for the call, man. I appreciate you telling your story tonight. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. Yeah, I mean, sounds like he just wanted legalization only to the point where he was the one who was able to sell it, nobody else.
Yeah, that's pretty much what he wanted.
What a shame. We continue here with, we had Gene, the Christian anarchist. He has disappeared. Anyway, if you want to join us on our Discord server, you can do that over at discord.lrn.fm. Get on the air with us, talk about what you want. McBride said regulators are sensitive to the costs of compliance. This is the Boston Globe article.
I'll bet they are. I bet they're just sensitive as they could possibly be.
The state commission may consider starting a fund to help applicants or adjusting rules to allow for small operators to split the startup costs.
Oh,
with whom?
How kind of them.
Isn't that nice? She may consider starting the fund.
So
that doesn't mean they're going to start a fund. That just means they might consider it.
Right.
Sure.
And if they were going to start a fund, it doesn't mean when they would start the fund.
Right.
If enough of those smaller shops contributed to her campaign.
Right. As soon as my connected friends manage to get their stuff up and running and established in the marketplace, that's when we're going to start considering starting a fund so that people might share.
We're going to begin commencing to start considering
God.
Yeah.
Planning to plan.
Yeah.
Right.
In the 10 states that have legalized marijuana, the fate of the illicit market has largely
Freedom isn't
hinged.
going to happen in America, people. I'm sorry.
No.
It was lost a long time ago, if it ever existed.
It has largely hinged on the heavy cannabis consumers, said Andrew Livingston, Director of Economics and Research at Vincente Sederberg, a law firm that specializes in the cannabis industry. I bet they're keeping busy. They are unlikely to buy legal, he said, until licensed stores are competitive with dealers on price, quality, selection, and convenience.
At least he understands.
Daily and near-daily cannabis consumers account for, get this, 75% of the industry's spending, according to a 2016 study in Journal of Drug Issues. And those people, since they're spending every day, are super price-sensitive. They want to get the best deal.
Yeah.
California's struggles today resulted from its long experience with medical marijuana, Livingston said, in which storefronts sprouted all over, selling inexpensive cannabis to anyone with an easily obtained doctor's note. Some of those dispensaries were regulated by local officials, but not licensed by the state, said Livingston. Growers weren't licensed either. So when recreational pot became legal in California last year, dispensaries that wanted licenses suddenly had to source more expensive cannabis from licensed growers. So they made it even harder than it was under the medical scheme in California, which I didn't know that. I didn't realize they had unlicensed grow operations during medical. That's amazing.
It's amazing how uncompetitive the legal market is in so many areas.
Let's
Price,
see here.
Quality. What was the other?
High taxes also added to the cost. The result, prices at licensed marijuana stores skyrocketed, while the many unlicensed shops continue to offer lower-priced pot. California and Oregon, where outdoor cultivation flourishes, have struggled with too much marijuana for their home markets. Prices fell dramatically in Oregon to an average of $5 per gram, sometimes as low as $100 an ounce, about a third of the current prices in Massachusetts. That's encouraged some Oregon growers to sell their crops in states where the drug is illegal and prices are much higher. Now, again, that's not legal to let the marijuana go out the back door, so to speak, in these legal states, but it's a way to make extra money.
I was gonna say, you don't want to let it go to waste.
It's an interesting article, and there's a lot more to it. I'm going to share that on our social media. You can follow us on Mastodon at toot.freetalklive.com. We've also got our Telegram channel over at telegram.freetalklive.com, and Twitter. We're still there at twitter.freetalklive.com. I will post that here shortly, and we'll see you tomorrow night. You can join us online in the meantime at freetalklive.com.
Would you like to hang out with Penn Jillette? He's keynoting Freedom Fest this year. I, for one, am thrilled. Freedom Fest is the largest liberty-oriented gathering in the world. They take a Big Ten approach with libertarians, conservatives, liberals, anarchists, capitalists, and just open-minded people mingling together to hear real debates, share real solutions, and converse freely. This year's theme is the Wild West, a time of liberty and opportunity, or a time of anarchy and violence. Maybe both. Go to freedomfest.com/FTL and get your tickets now. freedomfest.com/FTL. Not convinced yet? Hey, I understand. It's a high-end event. Even with coupon code FTL50. Sure, you're likely to receive investment advice that'll make that sum seem paltry, but I have something special for you. Go to freedomfest.com/FTL and you'll get the 5 best speeches from last year for free. Call it a test drive. Do yourself a favor and go to freedomfest.com/FTL. freedomfest.com/FTL. Use coupon code FTL50 for a discount.